This is a sound that we've grown to hate. For 2.5 years, we've been following the development of drone warfare. And for the last two and a half years, the FPV kamikaze drone, has dominated the battlefield in Ukraine. We're here with Kraken on the Sumy front line to witness the next step in drone warfare, drone-on-drone aerial combat. And we're doing so in combat conditions.
Over the last 2 years, 18 months, we have seen improvised air-to-air drone combat, aerial combat between drones, Mavics ramming Mavics. But what we're now seeing is the dawn of designer interceptor drones, where the drone's entire purpose is to go up, hunt for, and take down other drones.
Crossfire was given unprecedented access to one of the first units in the world dedicated to this new kind of warfare. We watched them launch, hunt, and close in for the kill.
Yes.
Yes, they've seen it.
This is a claw interceptor drone used by Kraken. It carries about just under 1 kilo of explosive, and it is sent up to intercept Russian reconnaissance and also attack drones.
Here, a Zala Cub reconnaissance drone, covered in the Z symbols of Putin's so-called special military operation, is caught and taken down by a diving Kraken interceptor. And these are the final moments of a Zala Lancet kamikaze drone before a Kraken interceptor achieves the kill. But the interceptors are being hunted in return.
The drone came back in. They've changed the battery very quickly. They're quite anxious because the Lancet now is very close to us. It's just beyond the next tree line. So this is not just about interception, it's also about self-preservation.
But this war is cruel, and happy endings are rare. This winter, Russia launched 19,000 Iranian-designed Shahed drones against Ukraine. Local air defense systems were sometimes overwhelmed. They simply didn't have enough missiles or launchers. America's suspension of military aid to Ukraine has only exacerbated that problem. But now the boot is on the other foot. America and Israel have gone to war with Iran, and Iranian Shaheds are hitting targets, including American military bases, in the Persian Gulf and beyond. The $4 million missile Patriot systems are not economic against such attacks. Far better to use drones to take down drones. And so, ironically, the Pentagon and its allies are turning to Kyiv for help. Ukraine's world-leading drone interceptor industry and battlefield know-how could be the answer to America's own drone crisis. In this film exclusive, the Crossfire team spends time watching one of the first units dedicated to state-of-the-art drone versus drone warfare in action on the Sumy front. This is what we saw. Yet another early start in order to reach the Sumy front line before the drone threat becomes severe. Friend or foe, nothing appears to be flying yet. Even the storks are still on their nests. Once again, the previous night was unseasonably wet. The morning is overcast. It's almost like being back home. In the fields close to the front, the going becomes tricky, if not treacherous. We really don't want to get stuck here. This feels exposed. A large open space inside the drone kill zone.
Come on, Carl. There you go. No dramas.
We arrive at last. Camouflage netting is lifted, and we reverse into cover. If not quite safety, it's at least safer. We'll spend the rest of the day inside this hilltop oak wood. Here we're both invisible, but on top of the world. It's the perfect position for the kind of warfare we've come to witness.
We've arrived on a hillside just behind the Sumy front line, and we're on an elevated position for a reason, because we're here with a unit of Kraken who are combating the most severe threat in this war, which is the drone threat. These guys are flying interceptor FPVs, drones, which are basically sent up to knock down Russian drones, largely reconnaissance drones, that patrol over the battlefield 24/7. You can hear the artillery as well. But this is fascinating because we've been with mobile air defense with their ancient 50 cal machine guns, This is the cutting edge, state of the art, drone versus drone in aerial combat, which has never been seen before.
Beneath the cover of the tree canopy, a drone interceptor unit from the Kraken Regiment are working out of a second-hand van.
Noisy neighbours.
It's summer, and the unit is controlling their drones al fresco. Their vehicle can also be used as a command post.
So where I'm sitting normally would be a pilot, the commander. On these screens they would be looking for, tracking, registering Russian reconnaissance and attack drones, and then launching from outside interceptor drones, and then the pilot would be flying using these screens, flying their interceptor drones up to the Russian drone, and then you can hear it's a Kraken big self-propelled gun is firing right next to us. They get within 20 meters, the pilot here detonates almost a kilogram of explosive in the interceptor drone, which will blow the Russian drone out of the sky.
Я думаю, вони знають. Вони ж, блядь, з цим Ромою общалися, вони кажуть, 2 склони було, 2 склони було. Просто теж є нюанси, які вона, навіть производитель не знає.
Sounds of a more old-fashioned war continue around us. Terrifying and ubiquitous, drones have come to dominate the battlefield to an extent which is hard to imagine unless you're here. It's said that attack drones now cause up to 80% of military casualties.
This is a sound that we've grown to hate. For 2.5 years we've been following the development of drone warfare, and for the last two and a half years, the FPV kamikaze drone has dominated the battlefield in Ukraine. It's still dominating the battlefield in Ukraine. It's now more recently spawned the fiber optic FPV kamikaze, which is unjammable, and that's caused again warfare to change. Today we're with Kraken, and we're going to see the next step in the evolution of drone warfare.
So how do we get to this point? Current missile air defense systems are for the most part prohibitively expensive when combating drones. One Patriot launch costs $4 million. With hindsight, the solution was obvious. The adaptation of the existing kamikaze drone concept to hunt and kill the enemy's own, a kind of unmanned Spitfire for the 21st century. For the most part, this Kraken team's targets are not the small, short-range kamikaze attack drones, but larger, slower, more sophisticated, long-range reconnaissance models like the Orlan, Supercam and Zala. These larger drones are the Russians' eyes in the sky, identifying targets for both FPV drones and artillery. Take them down, and the Russians' ability to launch pinpoint drone strikes is much reduced. In this footage, a Kraken interceptor drone stalks and takes down a Russian Zala Z-16 drone. As does this one. Note the Zala's mottled camouflage scheme. In response to this interceptor drone threat, some Russian recon drones are already being equipped with cameras in their tails to detect approaching enemy UAVs. Here, the pilot of a Supercam model appears to spot a Kraken interceptor on his drone's tail and takes immediate evasive action. While in this clip, another Supercam is overhauled and taken down by another Kraken interceptor, without any suggestion the Russian pilot saw what was coming. Here, a third is also stalked and blown out of the sky. Note the red and white checkered unit emblem on its right wing. The live feed is pin sharp. But these are still early days for the interceptor units and their emerging technology. There are bound to be teething problems, as we're about to see. The Kraken unit have just taken delivery of what for them is a new aircraft type.
This particular model, this is an interceptor drone. It's sent up to knock down Russian reconnaissance drones, and this is called the model is called a Techno-Taras. I'm assuming it's named after Taras Shevchenko, who's the national poet. So it's rather like a British drone being named the Techno Shakespeare. It's very simple. It's totally 100% Ukrainian made, and you can probably see it's the body, the fuselage, the wings, they're made from polystyrene, so it's extremely light. It's on a launch stand it looks like it's launched with compressed air, and then it goes under its own power. It's propeller driven from the back, and the guys here are just preparing it for the day's first mission. It was very, very wet and thundery last night, so there is a bit of overcast, but it looks like the sun is going to burn through in an hour or two, which will make the conditions perfect for the Russian reconnaissance drones, which means that the Techno Taras will be busy today.
The Techno Taras has an endurance of around an hour, a maximum altitude of 6,000 meters, and a range of more than 35 kilometers. With a top speed of 160 km/h, it can catch and destroy sophisticated Russian recon drones, such as the Orlan and Supercam models, which cost more than 50 times the Techno Taras's unit price. Targets are not brought down by ramming. The 600 grams of explosive within the drone's nose is remotely detonated by an operator when the Taras's camera shows that it's within 30 meters of the target, a proximity rather than an impact takedown. But if it fails to find a target, the drone can be recovered and reused, just like a Spitfire in 1940. The soldiers prep the drone in the half-light of the wood, because Russian drones are out there hunting. And this position is a prime target, as later events will show. The Techno Taras is ready for launch. The drone and frame are moved out of the cover of the trees. A short delay. Further adjustments are needed. Meanwhile, nature is busy too. The sound you can hear is that of an air compressor at the rear of the launch frame. The Techno Taras will literally be blown into the air. Once aloft, the electronic motor propels it. And we have liftoff.
Блять.
Oh dear.
Inauspicious start to the day for the Taras Shevchenko. It was launched from the frame, a little puff of smoke, compressed air, whatever, went up, flew for about 400 meters across the field and then came down again. And there's three of the guys are now searching for it in a field of, I don't know, some sort of crop, but it hasn't performed as it should perform on this occasion. They'll find it and we'll start again.
Now the unit must find the downed drone in the field of soybean. Take two.
Що ти робиш?
Once again, the drone fails shortly after takeoff. The unit only took delivery of this model 4 days ago. Several of the drones in that initial delivery batch had been launched and recovered before, we're told. Their polystyrene bodywork means they are extremely light and maneuverable, but it also leaves them vulnerable to landing damage, which can affect later flight performance.
Блять, точно в акро, монстр?
You can see here the kind of damage caused to the delicate airframe by a hard landing. These drones will need an overhaul before they're launched again. Fortunately, the Kraken drone team have another tried and tested interceptor model. This is called the Claw. It looks like a radio-controlled model of a 1950s cargo aircraft. It's larger and more robust than a Techno-Terras drone, though not as maneuverable. Driven by a battery-powered propeller on each wing, the Claw carries almost a kilo of remotely detonated explosive. Again, this is the most vulnerable time for the drone crew. They're in the kill zone, and it will take minutes rather than seconds to prep and launch. It's already warm, the artillery is grumbling. Conditions now perfect for drone warfare and drone-on-drone interception. Kraken have not yet received an air raid alert. Nevertheless, the crew will launch a Claw and carry out a short patrol of the immediate area.
What we're about to see is the launch of a Claw interceptor drone. It's a Ukrainian developed weapon which is specifically designed to go up and knock down Russian drones, both reconnaissance and attack drones. It's got a top speed of about 140 kilometers an hour. It's stable, it's robust, so if it doesn't find a target, it can be landed without serious damage. And once it gets close enough to the target, it's carrying a small amount of explosive and the pilot remotely detonates it.
This time, the interceptor takeoff goes without a hitch. After a flight lasting several minutes, the Claw comes back into view and executes a smooth landing in the field by the wood.
Охуенно, Паш. Візьми чеку, пожалуйста.
В цей раз.
Ні, там, можна там декілька запобіжників, там... Я улыбаюсь. Уїбайся. Хуйово, блядь, не видно. Уїбайся, Паш. Ти плачеш, блядь. Ти що, плачеш? Ні, блядь, сміюся, нахуй. Я не плачу, я плачу.
The crew now wait for radar or signal interception to identify incoming Russian drones. This is the unit's dugout. It provides sleeping quarters and protection against artillery fire, because here they're well within range of the Russian guns.
You can see space for three. I assume there are other similar dugouts in the same wood, because there's more than three in this unit. You know, what is pretty much standard now for these dugouts, the roof of local trees and a whole load of earth piled on top. So it's reasonably secure.
You can walk under this one.
Yeah, and it is quite, for me, this is unusual. I'm usually banging my head on these.
Red alert. The real thing this time. A Russian Zala recon drone has been detected in our sector. A Claw is about to be scrambled to try and knock it down. A 2025 version of the combats which took place over Britain in the summer of 1940.
So we've been told to get under the tree cover. But the interceptor unit now, of course, this is their moment. They're launching their Claw drone, which will attempt to hunt and take down the Russian Zala. It's 8:30 in the morning, clear blue skies, it's perfect drone weather and perfect for drone interception by other drones.
And away it climbs, heading southeast. Unlike a Spitfire scramble during the Battle of Britain, the pilots remain at base with the ground crew.
Может быть такое, что он обратно придет. Я ж тебе не отдам теперь его. Смотри на вот эту сотку, куда летишь. Ты вернешь ему бы не, понял? Ну, его оба не угадали, короче. 174 Паузимо помилуй. Хенкок Рабло, підкажіть, є наявна інформація по висоті? Опять розголосити.
Наразі немає, але я скажу, якщо то ударний, скоріше за все, або Золотого Ланцет, то безпоправлений буде невелика. 1200.
Держи 1400 пока. Полетели? Я помню, выжидать. Да. Это ударный ряд. Давайте оставим. Это пытался как ебать. Бывает такое, что ланцеры прилетали, убрали, облетали нахуй. На ямку барабаны. Да. А как это работает? Возможно, опять будет сейчас. Да, все правильно.
Inside the tree line, 2 tablet screens are being watched. One is a live GPS tracker map showing the evolving position of the claw. The other is a live feed from the drone's nose camera. The claw's already a couple of thousand meters up. The footage shows it's still a little hazy on the horizon, but the green fields and forests are clearly set out below.
They're tracking a Zala Russian reconnaissance drone, and they've been maneuvering for the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Не, це цифра.
They seem to be closing on it.
5650, правильно?
5620.
This is the point.
5650, да, 5670.
We've got on his screen a panorama from maybe 1,000 meters up of the Sumy countryside, and now it's a matter of keen eyesight to pick out the Zala from the landscape below.
Где?
Вон летить. Не,
Не, въебали.
Догоняет
Блядь.
его.
Блядь, я проебал. Он.
Вон.
Есть.
Yes, they've seen it.
Блять.
It's below them, below their drone.
Ебаный пиздец, блядь, с этим видео, нахуй. Видишь?
I'm in front.
Ебал.
Типа того. Чуть луны может быть. It's unclear, they're still maneuvering. They have to get close. It's not a question of ramming the enemy drone, but getting close enough to explode the warhead.
У нас був візуальний, бачили 2 борта. Один білий, за ним гнався чорний.
Mosquitoes bite and buzz. Tension mounts. One of the team holds the trigger mechanism, ready to set off the interceptor's warhead.
Right, for security reasons, we can't film the screen, but I'm watching it. This screen is showing the landscape from the perspective of the claw, the hunting drone's camera. And the pilot now is maneuvering backwards and forwards. I think they might have lost sight again of the target drone, the Russian Zala, but now he's doing sweeps.
The claw is now 20 kilometers, around 12 miles from base, and closing on the Zala. But then something rather unexpected happens.
The guys here on their screen saw 2 objects in the sky in front of them, a white object and a white object, which was probably the Russian, the Zala, black object following it. Now they've both disappeared after what looked like a small explosion puff. They think that the black object was an interceptor drone from another unit, Ukrainian unit, and it took down the Zala drone before these guys could get their drone to it. So it's a Ukrainian success. It doesn't really matter which unit takes it down, but the claw drone, which these guys are flying now, will probably continue on a sort of patrol pattern. It's got a battery life of something like an hour. So it can stay up there looking for business, or they could bring it back down and land it to recharge the battery. I don't know quite what's going to happen yet.
As if 85 years ago, a Spitfire from another squadron had cut in and shot down a Heinkel you already had in your sights. Even at the cutting edge of warfare, history repeats. This footage, later supplied to Frontline by Kraken, appears to show the last moments of a Russian Zala. It's the small white shape moving in the center of the screen several hundred meters below the interceptor. Then there is the puff of an explosion, and the white shape disappears. Thwarted, the claw comes back intact. It survives to fly at least one more mission.
So this is the battery that's just been taken out of the Claw drone, which has landed after its first combat mission of the day. And it is hot and it's heavy. And here we have the joystick control panel, which we saw controlling the drone. But this is it's a commercially available handset. You can see it shows a model aircraft. You know, somebody might be using this on a Saturday with their hobby, but it's now being used for deadly purpose on the Ukrainian front line. Essentially to save Ukrainian lives. It's taking down recon drones, which would be calling in artillery and drone strikes, but also some of the Russian attack drones like the Lancet can also be intercepted with the drones this unit is using. So it's a lifesaver, not a weekend hobby.
We've just seen it on its first combat mission of the morning. It took off to hunt down a Russian Zala drone. As it got visual contact with the Zala, and then just as it was closing in, it seems another interceptor drone from another Ukrainian unit got there first and took the Zala down. This has just landed. They've taken the battery out for recharge, and it'll be ready for another combat mission very soon.
Mid-morning, and the combat tempo is increasing. A Ukrainian 155mm self-propelled howitzer in the next door wood has been firing like a crack of doom. The Russians will want to find and stop it, and so it's no surprise when a Zala Lancet kamikaze drone is detected 3 miles from our position and closing. Another interceptor drone scramble will take place. This one is so urgent it will be carried out by an FPV quadcopter. It's not a dedicated interceptor, but can be launched far faster than the much larger Claw. The hunt is on again.
The entire crew is crowded around the screen next to the pilot, and they're watching what we think is the pursuit of a Russian Lancet, the Zala Lancet attack drone, suicide drone. They're much feared on the front line. They're very, very deadly. And they've launched, as an emergency launch, an FPV suicide drone, small one, which I guess will be used to ram, if they catch it, the Russian Lancet.
The FPV is returned to base to have a fresh battery installed, like a Spitfire being refueled during an air raid. Speed is of the essence, and the language is not polite. As soon as the new battery is installed, the FPV is relaunched in pursuit of the Lancet.
The drone came back in. They've changed the battery very quickly. They're quite anxious because the Lancet now is very close to us. It's just beyond the next tree line. So this is not just about interception, it's also about self-preservation. The Lancet is a potential threat to this position, which is why they've essentially, like a Spitfire would come in, be refueled, rearmed and take off again. This is exactly what we've seen here. Saying that the Lancet is probably looking for the Ukrainian artillery, which we can hear, which has been firing every couple of minutes. Deafeningly, there is a very large self-propelled howitzer in one of the little copses next to us, also I think belonging to Kraken, and the Lancet has probably come in here to look for it and try and attack it. So these guys now are trying to defend that position. That's their guess anyway.
The enemy drone is estimated to be flying at an altitude of 950 meters. The interceptor pilot is told to descend to 1200 meters.
Może oце він буде.
A soldier waits outside the tree line to retrieve the drone as it comes back in for another change of battery. By now, the big gun close to us has fallen silent. The Lancet's presence alone has achieved that. But now news comes through that the Lancet has turned towards Russian lines. By the time the FPV takes off again, the target will be out of range. The scramble is cancelled. Before we leave, a group photo with battle flag.
Штурвал, блядь.
Голландський штурвал.
On our way back, we pass a tractor pulling a trailer full of logs. They'll be used to build more dugouts and more trench walls, an altogether old-fashioned type of warfare, unlike that we have just left behind, but also deadly. A few days after we leave, the Kraken drone position is hit by Russian artillery using cluster munitions. There are casualties among the young men we've spent time with on the hilltop, but in Sumy the Russians have been stopped and Kraken fights on.